Joining us now from Arlington, Virginia, is Jamil Jaffer. Now, he has quite the resume, Mr. Jaffer does. He's the executive director of the National Security Institute at the Scalia Law School. He is a former associate White House counsel under President Bush the Younger and former counsel to the Assistant Attorney General for National Security. So Mr. Jaffer knows the turf. Number one, did I leave anything out or make any mistakes in my 14-minute analysis, Mr. Jaffer?
You know, Bill, I think you covered it pretty well. The one interesting thing I might raise that the president might raise if, in fact, charges are brought is, you know, the president has classification authority, original classification authority. He can decide what's classified and what's not. And so the president, in theory, could have declassified these materials. For all we know, President Trump's defense will be, even if I did take classified material down to Mar-a-Lago, I declassified it before I left office. As a result, and the materials that I have here are not classified, right? And that may put a pin in a lot of what the Justice Department is bringing. Now,
would he have, if he took that tack, would he have had to put something in writing to show that he declassified the stuff?
Well, you know, traditionally, Bill, that would be the case, but a lot of presidents and other members of the executive branch who have official original classification authority don't necessarily do so. So, for example, President Trump, as we know, tweeted out an alleged picture of an Iranian missile. I think a lot of people believe that picture was taken using classified sources, classified satellites. The president tweeted it out. I think by definition, having put it out in the public press, he made the determination to declassify it. The president could take the same argument, right? It's traditional, yes, for presidents to fill out a form that says, you know, I'm declassifying this, but it's not, I don't think, required by law. And as a result, the president could say, I told my colleagues, or I made a decision, you know, and here we are.
Okay.
By moving to Florida, I made a decision to declassify them. Listening
to you, Mr. Jaffer, and correct me if I'm wrong, it seems that you think this FBI raid was unnecessary.
Well, you know, it's a hard question, because if the president did violate, for example, the Presidential Records Act, the Federal Records Act, but just by removing documents, that alone is a violation of the law. On top of that, this question of mishandling or misstoring classified documents, unless he declassified them, which you might argue, right? All of those things are potential criminal activities. So can the FBI investigate it? Sure. Should they investigate it? Maybe. Conducting a search warrant at a former president's house, something that's never been done before, that's a pretty strong step. It's an aggressive move. They clearly think they have enough to justify it. Clearly, a federal judge, a magistrate judge down in Florida, believes they had enough probable cause to determine that a warrant was available to be issued under the Fourth Amendment. So, you know, and then the hard question is, you know, do you prosecute the immediate past president? You know, and if you do, right, what are the political implications?
They can't do it with the Hillary Clinton thing on the resume. You just can't. I think, and this is speculation, so I want my audience to know that I don't speculate much, but this is important. I think this is what they call a fishing expedition to try to get January 6th material. That's what I think this is.
Well, look, I mean, that may be the case, Bill. Certainly, they have at least probable cause to believe a crime was committed. I think if I were you know, guesstimating what they filed with the court, we don't know what they filed with the judge down there in Florida, but the fact that the National Archives did take possession of 15 boxes a few months back, took them up to D.C., and then made a referral to the Justice Department suggests that the National Archives determined that some of those materials that they took back from Mar-a-Lago were in fact classified at the time that they took possession.
I want to clarify to the audience what you're saying. They did remove other documents earlier this summer. The federal and Trump allowed that. Trump knew it was happening and said, "Yeah, go take them. This is further." Okay. So when you have a situation where half the country at least believes this is politically motivated, and you have no explanation on the part of the Biden administration, the Attorney General, the head of the FBI, nothing. No explanation whatsoever. Shouldn't the Biden administration get out there now and tell the American people, for the sake of unity, this is why we did what we did? Shouldn't they do that now?
Look, I think this is a very tough position they're in. I think having made the decision to investigate and potentially prosecute and conduct a search warrant at a former president's house, you've got to defend the FBI and the Justice Department against the claim that they're behaving politically.
You have to.
And somebody's got to get out there and do that.
And there's no law violation to say this is what we gave to the judge. This is why we got the warrant. That's not a violation of law, is it?
Well, if there's an ongoing grand jury investigation, actually, this is actually really interesting. If there's an ongoing grand jury investigation, they can't reveal information before the grand jury. That would be a violation of the grand jury rules. There's a Rule 6E that prevents anybody, the grand jurors, the individuals, bringing the charges and the like, they can't reveal anything before the grand jury. So that might be one reason they're going to say that they're not able to talk about it. That being said, I think that it's a tough position to put the Justice Department in, for the White House, for the AG, for the FBI, to not come out and explain, look, here's the basis for the investigation.
You can do it in a general way.
Right.
Okay. Final discussion point. Unless Donald Trump did something heinous here, and remember, Hillary Clinton, 2,000 classified documents on her personal computer and phone, 2,000. Unless Trump did something really heinous, this is going to help him because it makes him look like a martyr, a victim. It continues the Russian collusion nonsense, the impeachment nonsense. Now they're raiding his house so that his supporters will be more vehement in his behalf. And those on the fence in the independent area will say, enough's enough. I'm going to vote for this guy just because I hate the other people. Do you see that point?
Yeah, Bill, I've got to believe that the Justice Department, the Assistant Attorney Generals there, the FBI Director, their immediate staff, the AG himself, had to have thought this through, right? And said, is this going to actually hurt the reputation of the FBI, the Justice Department, as you've laid out, the accusations of politics? They knew that was coming. Is that going to be net worse, or is going after and prosecuting this potential crime more important? Where is the value? Ultimately, prosecutors, attorneys general, line prosecutors in the field, FBI agents, they make these calls all the time. They they exercise prosecutorial discretion.
Not at this level. This is enormous. Anyway,
Right.
Mr. Jaffer, I hope you'll do me a favor, a kindness, and follow this and let us know when you see something that's very important. We'll bring you back. Obviously, you know what you're talking about. You're not a partisan. You're telling the people straightforward what you believe. So I hope you will help us out in that regard, and we thank you very much for appearing today.